Hello, this is a bonus episode for Legendary Adventures podcast. While preparing for this season, I found a number of interesting things, but as I was writing scripts, I left a number of them out to keep the scripts from becoming too unfocused and bloated. So I decided to put some bonus episodes together on these little expanded tidbits. Let's talk more about Miyamoto's original concept for the game being limited to Ganon's castle. He expounded upon the idea in a 2011 Iwata Asks interview about Ocarina of Time 3D. As mentioned in the first episode, Miyamoto originally thought about making the game on a smaller scale. He thought about limiting it to Ganon's castle and having it play out similar to Super Mario 64 and Princess Peach's castle. He admitted this initial idea was all over his concerns over the limitations of the Nintendo 64. I thought so from the perspective of the hardware processing abilities while making Super Mario 64. At first I didn't mind making the game complete within a single building as long as I got to make Link in 3D. In other words, it might have turned out like Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. I suspect that sentiment has something to do with the feeling of limitations of the hardware. In later years, Miyamoto has expressed regret about Zelda 2 turning out the way that it did. He's not entirely happy with the design, and he lays that at least in part on technical limitations of the NES hardware. Satoru Iwata brought up that Yoshiaki Koizumi also mentioned that he and Miyamoto were working on a polygon version of Zelda 2 for the Super Nintendo. Miyamoto replied, "That's right. Partially because of that, I started making it with the idea that Ganon's castle might be enough. For example, there's a room in which you fight Phantom Ganon after he rides a horse out of a picture. That's a glimpse of an idea I had started making during the time I was saying to the others. At the very least, it will be like this." I wondered if we could have some one-on-one battles and started thinking up fragments like battles against Phantom Ganon early on in development. I tested the controls for having Link swing his sword in different directions. In the final game, players have some control over how Link swings his sword. It's all based on how players tilt the joystick as they use the attack button. And Koizumi and Toru Osawa would work out the one-on-one sword fighting concept as they developed Z targeting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my summary of that exchange. This was just a quick bonus episode. The next full episode will be out on Wednesday. I'm Paul Riley. I'll see you next week.